The day I got the offer letter, I was sitting in my car in a parking garage in downtown Chicago. It was 4:47 in the afternoon. The email came in while I was finishing a bottle of water, and I read it 3 times before my hands stopped shaking. We are pleased to extend an offer of employment to Nadia Calloway for the position of Senior Product Analyst at Meridian Group. Meridian Group. You might know them. If you don't, they're one of the top 5 financial analytics firms in the country. Forbes had covered them twice that year. I had been trying to get into that company since I was a junior in college. 3 years of applications, 2 previous rejections, 1 final interview that I had spent 6 weeks preparing for. I sat in that parking garage for a full 20 minutes, just breathing. Then I drove to my parents' house, because that's what you do when something this big happens. You go home. You share it. You let the people who raised you feel proud of you, even for just a moment. I should have known better. My mother, Cheryl, was at the stove when I walked in. She's the kind of woman who communicates through tasks. If she's busy, she doesn't have to look at you. And if she doesn't look at you, she doesn't have to respond. I'd learned to read that years ago. She stirred the pot twice when I told her. Didn't turn around. "Meridian," she said. "I've never heard of them." I told her about the Forbes coverage. She nodded the way people nod when they've already moved on. My father, Dennis, came in from the garage about 10 minutes later. He's a big man, the kind who takes up a room not just physically but energetically. Retired electrician. Opinioned about everything. He's the type of person who mistakes confidence for intelligence and volume for authority. I say that not with bitterness, but with the clarity that only comes after years of being on the wrong end of both. I told him. He poured himself a glass of iced tea, looked at me with that half squint he does, the one that means he's already formed a conclusion and is just deciding whether to say it out loud. He said it out loud. "Senior analyst? You? They must have been desperate." He actually laughed. Not cruelly, that's the thing. He laughed the way someone laughs at a joke they genuinely think is harmless. He laughed the way you do when you haven't realized yet that the person in front of you stopped being a child a long time ago. I didn't argue. I've learned that arguing with my father is like trying to negotiate with weather. You don't win. You just get wet. My mother said nothing. I ate dinner, I helped clear the table, I drove home. And then I cried. Not from devastation, but from something more exhausting than that. From the specific grief of being celebrated by strangers and dismissed by the people who were supposed to know you best. I gave myself exactly 1 evening. Then I went to work. Here's what my father didn't know about Meridian Group, because he'd never bothered to ask. The role I was hired for was newly created. I was brought in to lead a cross-functional analytics initiative that the company had been trying to staff for over a year. My direct supervisor, a woman named Priya Santhanam, had interviewed 23 candidates before she got to me. She told me this on my 3rd day, not as flattery, just as context. "I want you to understand what this team needs and why we chose you specifically." I understood. I didn't take it lightly. The next 8 months were the hardest and best of my professional life. I worked with a team of 7. We rebuilt the company's client performance dashboard from the ground up. We cut reporting latency by 40%. We identified a modeling error in a legacy system that had been generating slightly skewed projections for 2 years. Correcting it saved 2 mid-size client accounts that were on the verge of walking. Priya presented our findings at the Q3 Leadership Summit. She cited my name 4 times in a 20-minute talk. I wasn't in the room when it happened, but I heard about it from 3 different people by the end of the day. Around month 6, Meridian started getting external attention for some of the changes we'd made. A financial tech publication ran a piece on firms that were modernizing their analytics infrastructure. They interviewed Priya. She mentioned the initiative. She mentioned me by name. The article ran with a photo, the team standing in the firm's Chicago office. I'm in it. I'm smiling. I'm wearing the gray blazer I bought the week I got hired, the one I told myself I'd wear when something real happened. I didn't send the article to my parents. It didn't occur to me to. I had stopped measuring my accomplishments against their acknowledgement a long time ago. I'd had to. It was the only way to keep going. What I didn't account for, what you can never fully account for, is other people's neighbors. The Pattersons live 2 houses down from my parents on Mallard Creek Drive. Sandra Patterson is retired. Her daughter works in finance in the Loop. Sandra reads financial tech publications online the way some people scroll social media, habitually, thoroughly, and with the particular attention of someone who has nothing urgent to do. She saw the article. She recognized my face. She screenshotted the photo, circled me in a red oval using whatever app she used for that kind of thing, and texted it to my mother with 3 words. Is this Nadia? I know all of this because my mother told me later, in detail, in the way she always tells stories, methodically, without inflection, as though reporting events she witnessed from a great distance. My mother showed my father the text, and then my father called me, 92 times, in 2 hours. I was in a post-project wrap-up meeting when it started. I saw the first call come in, silenced it, and assumed it was a pocket dial. By call 8, I started to feel something shift in my chest. Not panic, but attention. By call 20, I stepped out of the meeting. By call 40, I was standing in the hallway outside the conference room, phone in hand, watching the numbers climb, and feeling something I can only describe as a very specific, very quiet calm. The kind of calm that comes when you realize you were right about something you hoped you were wrong about. He had never called me 92 times for a school play, a graduation, a promotion at my previous job, a birthday. Not once. But he called 92 times when his neighbor showed him proof. I let him leave a voicemail on the 92nd call. I still have it. I've listened to it twice. Nadia, it's Dad. Call me back. Your mother and I saw something. About your job. I want to hear about it. From you. Call me back. His voice was different. I'd never heard it like that before. Not apologetic exactly, but smaller, compressed, like a man who'd been handed a mirror at an unexpected angle. I waited 2 days. Then I called him back. I want to be careful here, because I think this is the part people get wrong in stories like this. There's a version of this where I answer the phone cold, where I deliver some perfectly constructed takedown, where I make him feel every dismissal from every dinner table, every shrug, every joke made at my expense while I sat there and said nothing. I didn't do that. Not because I'd forgiven him, but because I understood, finally and fully, that he was not going to be the audience for my victory. He never had been. The moment I'd accepted that, really accepted it, not just intellectually but in my body, was the moment I'd stopped needing the call at all. I called him on a Tuesday. He picked up on the first ring. He asked about the article. I told him about the project. I kept my voice even. I answered his questions the way I would answer a colleague's, thoroughly, without embellishment, without bitterness. He said, I didn't know it was like that. I didn't know you were doing all of that. I said, I know. He was quiet for a moment. Then, I said something stupid when you told us. I said, yes. Just that. Not, it's okay, not, don't worry about it, not, I know you didn't mean it. Just, yes. Another silence. Then he said he was proud of me. I said thank you. And I meant it. Not as absolution, but as acknowledgement. He said a true thing. I received it. We talked for 11 more minutes, about neutral things. The weather, his truck needing new brakes. By the end, it almost sounded like a normal phone call. When I hung up, I sat with it for a while. The elegant thing about real life, the thing no one tells you when you're younger, is that the justice doesn't always look like a confrontation. Sometimes it looks like a Tuesday afternoon phone call where a man who once laughed at your dream is now asking you to explain it to him, carefully, because he finally wants to understand. Sometimes the revenge is just this, outlasting the doubt. Meridian offered me a director-level position 7 months later. I accepted. Priya wrote the recommendation herself. My parents came to the dinner I hosted to celebrate. My father arrived with a bottle of wine he'd clearly asked someone to help him pick. My mother brought a card. Inside, in her careful, even handwriting, she had written 4 words. We should have known. I put the card in the drawer where I keep things I need to remember. Not to hold over anyone, but to hold on to, for the days when the doubt creeps back in, for the days when I need to remember that I kept going, even when the people closest to me gave me every reason not to. That's the thing about building something real. It doesn't need anyone's permission to exist. It just needs you to keep showing up. 92 missed calls. He could have called once, years earlier, just to ask what I was working toward. But some people only look up when the world points. I stopped waiting for them to look. And that, more than any offer letter, any article, any director title, is when I finally felt free.